Welcome everybody to the meeting of the Neighbourhood Plan Review for Henley and Harpston this afternoon. Obviously to the working group and to any members of the public that are listening. The first item on the agenda is apologies for absence. I don't have any. Have you got any, Kath or Jody? No, okay. Item 2, declaration of interest. Does anybody have any interest relating to businesses to be transacted at the meeting today? I see none. Item 3, public participation. We have one member of the public to speak, and that is a Mr. Hugh Archibald. Hugh, if you'd like to speak, put your video back on and then speak. Are you still there, Hugh?
It's muted.
No, the only point I wanted to make in relation to Lucy's farm was...
Hugh, do you want to put your video on, or are you happy like that?
I'm happy like that. I'm not sure where to put it on at the moment.
Okay, that's fine.
It's just the fact that Lucy's farm is so prominently noticeable from the AONB, where it crosses the Henley Golf Club. I know Lucy's farm isn't in the AONB, but I contacted the Conservation Board, and I've had a very full answer from the planner there, Dr. Matt Thompson, saying that the setting of the AONB, i.e. the surroundings, are very significant in planning terms. And there is a position statement, the development affecting the setting of the Chilterns AONB. I've read that, and it appears to me that Lucy's farm really is very much the sort of area they're saying preferably shouldn't be developed at all, because it's so prominently observable from the footpath, the public observation point, going across the hill on the other side of the Harpston Valley. And I just wondered to what degree that's taken account of already in the considerations of Lucy's farm as a possible development site.
My answer to this, Hugh, we obviously had a company called ACOM that come up with information on each site that was put forward. We're taking 13 sites to an exhibition or presentation, which we'll be coming up with another date for that later on. Lucy's farm wasn't one of them so far, and it obviously gave a number of reasons why. So at this time, it is not in it's not down as a site that will possibly be put forward as a site in the review. But until the presentations and the exhibition takes place, and then there is a committee that will put the sites forward that we're going to propose that will go in the review. So just to say, at the moment, it is not one of those sites at this moment in time. But things can change. I can't go on and say it won't be in there, because we're not at that part of the review as yet. So yeah, so I understand all the points you made, and they will be minuted. I would say what I am disappointed in, now you're here obviously speaking about the Lucy's farm, that there are, I believe, reading the Henley Standard, that there are a few people that are getting up a petition against it. And I suppose one of the disappointing things as we've carried out the review, we've had very, very few members of the public that have come to these meetings. And it's fine, people coming up with a view, but it would be handy, especially the people are getting the petition up, that if they were to attend some of these meetings and listen to exactly what's going on, and they then may well reword or whatever the petition they're putting forward. So that's just my view. I think more members of the public probably should have got involved and should have come to the meetings. And when we did the original ones, there are always plenty of members, I believe, of the public at the first stage of the joint Henley and Harpsden neighbourhood plan. So anyway, so just going back to yours, yeah, thanks for those comments. They have been minuted, and I hope my answer addresses the question you put forward.
So basically,
you're more than welcome to say if it didn't address your question.
No, that addresses my question. Do I just need to sort of be patient, really, to the next stage of the process?
I think if people could be, yeah. And as I say, we understand their views, like we understand other views on other sites, and we've taken those into consideration. Where we started off with well over 30 sites, and we've cut that number down to 13. So we have listened to what people have said. We've obviously looked at the information put forward. So we're not just cherry picking sites. We are picking them with information that's given on each individual site.
Okay. Well,
sorry, go on.
Sorry, shall I go? And I'm just saying we didn't receive the original notification about this review at all. So I'm only catching up with it from reading information in the Henley Standard.
Yeah, the Henley Standard, and then we'll just finish on this one. I'll just call on Jodie in a minute. But the Henley Standard do come to all the meetings, and they obviously then do write a report. This has been going on for the best part of 2 years now. It's not as if it just happened, 3 or 4 months ago. And as I say, we always get a fairly a fair report from the Henley Standard reporter. I think one of the officers wanted just to say a few words, Hugh. Jodie.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that there'll be an opportunity for you to get involved later on in the process when we're due to hold exhibitions on the sites in the town hall. We'll go on to that later in this committee, but at that point, you're welcome to input all your comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Hugh. Thank you.
Thank you.
So you're more than welcome to stay. Next item 4, is to approve the notes from the meeting on the 25th of January 2021. If I could take those as read. Proposer, Jackie, seconded by Patrick. All in favour of those?
Aye.
Thank you for that. Item 5, update from the planning officer. I'll move over to you, Jodie.
Thank you. So the draft policies are currently being reviewed by ACOM, and we'll likely have that back by the end of March, so I can bring those back to the next committee. We've been working on progressing the topic papers, and Joan's been working on the topic paper for libraries and sports facilities, and we'll come on to that under agenda item 6. Over 700 people responded to the neighbourhood plan survey, which was very encouraging. Community First Oxfordshire are currently compiling all of those responses, and they've provided us some headline results. There seems to be a great appetite for an environmentally friendly plan. 87% of respondents felt the plan should do more to conserve and enhance nature and wildlife, and 84% of respondents were concerned about air and light pollution. In terms of new development, respondents felt that green spaces should be provided, and renewable energy and low carbon design should be encouraged. There was also support for making the town self-sufficient in terms of renewable energy production. There was quite a few responses in terms of the provision and availability of healthcare, and 66% of people said they currently didn't have concerns with that. Moving on to housing, 244 of the respondents responded to say that they would need new housing in the next 10 years, and 31% of those wanted to be in smaller properties. So the next stage is for ACOM to produce a full report which will explain the results of that survey, and I'll be able to bring that back for your consideration next time. Thank you.
Anything else?
That's all.
I don't think we really need any questions on that until we get the full report, if everybody's happy with that. Okay, thank you. Item 6, updates from the working groups. The first one is schools, colleges and doctors' surgeries. Did you want to speak to that, Jodie, first, or Rebecca?
Maybe Michelle could. She
Michelle.
had some updated information.
Thank you. Yes, I've got the pupil census report back. You'll remember, as I've been on this committee now, I think nearly 2 years, there's a continuing trend for our schools not being at capacity. Now, due to the sensitivity of this information, it's not actually available to the public. It's only available to the public by freedom of information. So I haven't been able to share it. I did ask advice on the best way to do this, but I've just received the advice that I should just give a verbal update. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just share the reception entrance for each of the schools without naming the school. Now, one of the schools is full, and I won't be naming that school. Okay, so here goes for the others. We've got, this is reception year. Okay, so it's the very first year they attend school. Capacity is 30 for each school. Okay, so it's 16, 13, 21, and 20. Okay. Any questions?
So those figures to me, does that say they're 2/3 full?
So it varies. First one, we've got 16 out of 30. We've got 13 out of 30.
Even less, yeah.
21 out of 30 and 20 out of 30. So it varies.
Rebecca Charlewell.
Do we know at all if this is, I mean, the number of children born in any year does go up and down quite a bit. I know from having done sort of applications into higher education that, you know, the demographic can change quite a lot from one year to the next. So is this because of just the general demographic and it will change, or is this?
You know, Rebecca, I remember you asking me to pull out some figures on this, and I do know that I did start looking into it. I was looking at figures for the whole of Oxfordshire.
Okay.
And there are other areas of Oxfordshire which are having to increase their capacity quite significantly.
Right. Okay.
Henley obviously is not one of them.
Yeah.
But I will relook at that research, because I know you did ask for it and I did actually find it. So I'll make sure that I circulate that perhaps by email or report it at the next meeting. So yeah, sorry, I do recall you asking for that.
It just tells us something about, well, if it's not just about the general demographic of the country of children of that age, it tells us something about the demographic of Henley, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things going on here. I mean, obviously we've got, I think, an affordability crisis.
Yeah.
And you know, families are not able to choose Henley-on-Thames as their place to bring up their children, unfortunately. I think that's what it says to me, because populations are going up in other parts of Oxfordshire.
What one would hope, surely, though, you know, the first stage of the neighbourhood plan was for 500 houses, which 40% were meant to be affordable. So in theory, you know, one would consider that you know, there would be some families moving into those properties that are affordable. But it would be interesting when the results come back from Community First on the question of affordable housing.
Yeah, because what we're seeing from David Whitehead's really good work on you know, how we're building out in Henley, you know, and it's what we can't do anything about. It's flats and it's executive homes, you know, so we're at two ends of the spectrum, and families don't fit into either of those categories, arguably.
Yeah. Right. Jackie, did you want to ask a question?
Just to mention something, but I think Patrick was first if he wants to go.
No, go on, you go first and I'll go Patrick afterwards.
It was just to further add on the affordability comment that Michelle made and yourself, that it might also go to prove that affordability, which is 80% of market cost to rent or buy, is not affordable in Henley.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Patrick Fleming.
Yeah, two comments. One is that we have had a review of what actually has been built. David's doing a great job on that, but the number of affordable homes is well below what we'd expect, simply because the majority of the developments have been infill and windfall, and so we're not getting the affordable houses we need. The other one is that Michelle said it, the polarization. We've got a lot of flats and a lot of executive homes, and executives are most likely to use the private sector for education. So I think it's a lose-lose, really, in some respects.
Yeah, I think the development at Highlands Farm, not that we're going to go to individual ones, but I will. You know, there are a number of 2-bedroom houses up there, affordable units up there, plus the flats as well. So it's not all flats up there. You know, we still haven't had, you know, nowhere near half the properties built yet of the original plan. You know, we're still well below 250. So there's obviously, you know, more houses to come at the moment in time.
Ken, I think it was Alan Ponton's comment that he's the sole provider of affordable homes.
Maybe in the future. Joan Clark.
Just one comment, that I think those figures make even more that we should oppose the youth centre allowing the youth centre to go for an old person's home from our plan of it being housing with an element of affordable.
Okay, thank you for
that.
Anybody else wish to speak on that item? Ian Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, Joan, you said about the youth centre being built for houses. I'd just like to remind the committee that there's a 24-inch duct main goes down through there. I think that you'd find that very difficult to build houses on there, or an old people's home. Is this something the council's looked into?
No. But we hear what you're saying.
Thank you.
Okay, move on to the next one, which is little 2, which is libraries, community halls, sports and leisure facilities, which you've got a paper with you on pages 9 to 19 of the agenda. Joan, would you like to speak to this?
All I want to say on this one is that I haven't had responses from everyone I've asked for updates, so there may be errors of fact within this. So if anybody sees any errors of fact, please let me know. And then the second thing to say is that in the section areas of concern at the end, these are just my thoughts, and I wouldn't want it to go through with only my thoughts. So I would appreciate very much anybody else's comments and thoughts in the last section, areas of concern, either because ones I've raised are not valid, or because I've missed some and there are ones that you would like to raise.
Okay, yeah, I did go through that, Joan. There's 3 or 4 items there. I'll send my my quotes to you on that, rather than open up a big debate on it. Most of it's fairly factual. There's 1 or 2 things I think just may want words changed. But as Jodie said, you know, this is a working document, so we're going to change it as we go through over the next 6 months anyway. But if anybody else wishes to respond to that, can they just respond to Joan directly, please? Okay, thank you. Is there anything else you want to speak to on that, Joan?
No.
Okay, yeah, thanks for an excellent paper. I didn't realise we had so much sports facilities in the town until I started reading it. Amazing. Okay, thank you for that. Next item.
Oh, sorry, Ken, one slight query. Some of the stuff that's in there is actually on the wrong side of the river as far as we're concerned, but they are the Henley things, like all the rowing stuff. I just didn't know whether you would want that to be included in or not.
I think we should do. You know, people from Henley do go to Henley to row. They do go to Henley to play cricket. So yeah, absolutely fine. Yeah. Next item, item 3, is transport. Patrick, do you want to speak to that?
Report. It's with ACOM to review, and so we're waiting for that to come back.
Okay. Anybody else wish to comment on that? Jodie, have you anything? No? Okay. Item 4, Little Boar car parks. There's bits and pieces taking place with SODC at the moment. I must get all the information first before I add or subtract to that. Yeah, Jeff was on this with me, and also Don offered some support. So I need to get some more information. Then maybe I can set up a meeting now we're coming out of COVID, from what I'm told. Yeah, we'll sit down and discuss that, but I've got nothing further to add at the moment in time. Item 5, little 5, new housing permitted development rights. David Whitehead.
Well, there's not much to add. Not much has changed since the last meeting. So we're still in a position where numbers are increasing slowly, both approvals and in the pipeline under consideration. I see Rotherfield Road has come back in, the one that wanted 10 properties on a site of 1. It's gone to appeal now, so although it was turned down by SOTC, it's in the mix again now. So the numbers under consideration have gone up a bit, and the numbers approved have gone up slightly, but otherwise not much change since the last meeting.
I think Patrick actually made a good comment on that, because we did get some documentation where they said there were, pre the Joint Henley and Harpston Neighbourhood Plan, there are only 17 affordable houses built over a period of about 8 or 9 years. And I think Patrick's comment, which he made about your figures, David, there's very few affordable houses.
Well, it depends what you mean by affordable, doesn't it? A lot of these flats are obviously affordable in the sense that they're cheaper than other housing. They may not be suitable for young families, but they are in the affordable category. And building more affordable, if they're on the open market, it's not going to reduce the price. It's not going to make them more available to people in Henley, just building more, unless they're social housing. And I agree that's what we need.
Right, okay. Little 6, business and community engagement. I'll go to Jodie first on this one.
Yeah, so the next opportunity for engagement is going to be the exhibitions, which we'll come on to later. During that, we will also be making information available online, so that people that don't want to come into the town hall can have the opportunity to get involved. As part of that, we would like to film some YouTube videos on the key issues, so the public know what we've been working on. So it would be good to have a representative for each working group to do a little summary of what we've been doing. So infrastructure, transport, employment and climate emergency work. I'll email you all closer to the time, so you can get involved with that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody wish to speak to that one? No, I see no one. The next one, little 7, liaison with other parishes. We've been in touch with Tame a fair bit actually on the neighbourhood plan in the past. And we also had a meeting with them about community land trust. we've got a meeting tomorrow on that. Hopefully we're going to set up a community land trust, which will be a number of trustees, and Tame have been helping to guide us. And these will be, I'm not sure, we come back to, people are mentioning social housing, people are mentioning affordable housing. At the end of the day, I prefer the word affordable, and I think affordable can be social. So I'd prefer to speak to the affordable, but they need to be affordable. And hopefully, if we can set up a community land trust, which seems quite possible now, we will be able to do that. And so we had a good meeting with Tame a few weeks back on that one there. I've got nothing more to add on there unless anybody else would wish to speak. I see no one. Item 8, review of all the existing sites. Jodie, I don't know if you've got anything to say there. Otherwise, I'm just going to mention Highlands Farm actually is the only one I think is moving at this moment in time. They've been out there of late, putting some new foundations in. There's a lot of noise been going over there. I'm not sure how the sales are going at the moment, but the last I heard, they were beginning to sell up there. But then again, it's the only new site that's being built. So one would imagine if you can't sell there, you're probably not going to sell anywhere. Finally, it looks, and I'll come to you, Patrick, it looks like the development on the corner of Deanfield Road and Deanfield Avenue has been completely sold out now, which is good. It's another one full up. That's all I've got really to mention on existing sites. Patrick, did you want to say something on that?
Well,
and then I'll go to David.
I wanted a point of information really on the Highland Park. A lot of that very noisy work was going on where they've cleared at the entrance, on the left-hand side behind their car park. Is that actually Crest Nicholson land, or is that another developer there?
There's Alan Ponte's son owns that piece of land there, and I think he's got permission for 5 houses to go in there.
Right.
I haven't been up there, so I don't know if that's where they've been working.
It probably is. Yeah.
He's got permission for 5 houses there, which I think he won on appeal, I believe. David, do you wish to say anything?
I was going to ask if there's any news on the site at the Fairmile, because that seemed to be nearing resolution some months ago, but we've heard nothing recently.
That is basically to do with the planners. The application's been in for about 6 months now. The only problem I'm aware of was the design of the blocks of flats. I think the district council wished to reduce the heights of the flats. Other than that, to be honest, we are waiting for SODC. I'll give them a call actually, David, because I did speak to them before Christmas, and they seem to think that it would be sorted out by January/February. So it must be fairly close to getting planning permission. Although, basically it's only outlined at the end of the day, because, once the land's sold off, and it will be, one would imagine a developer would come along with their own types of houses. But I think what's being proposed by Thames Properties is more in keeping with the area. So at least we have a design there put forward. So if another builder comes in and wishes to change, we would have something to work to. But I think what they've proposed, other than the flats, I think are more than acceptable anyway, from what I can see. So that should come online with planning permission anyway, fairly soon, one would imagine, unless they want any more changes. The town council, I'm not sure if you're aware of, we've put a piece of land aside for the slow worms, so that's all been sorted out. That's been sorted out for the last few months. So other than that, yeah, that's all the information I can give you on that one.
Right, thanks.
Yep. Item 9 is the industrial land. Nothing else has come forward that I'm aware of, other than what was put forward by Crest Homes when they did their presentation a few months back. Be interested in what will come forward when we have the presentation and exhibitions. That could be quite interesting. But other than that, I've seen no more industrial land. And unless anybody can see industrial land or bits of land in Henley that I'm unaware of, I will be surprised if anything else comes forward. And I know we've got a few Henley residents around here. Jeff, did you wish to speak there? You're muted, Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was merely adjusting my screen. I wasn't putting my hand up.
I thought you were going to say there's some land at Phyllis Court that...
There is some land at Phyllis Court, but you're not having it.
Okay, item 10, site selection. We go on to that when we come on to item 10, public exhibitions. We've got some information on that. Item 11, conservation area and local list. Jodie?
Yeah, so the consultants undertaking the conservation area review, Purcell, have undertaken an initial walk around Henley and Harpston to set out the issues and opportunities. They are currently considering whether Reading Road conservation area should have its own appraisal, which could separately assess the significance and look at management of that area. So it would be good to know what the committee thought about that. There'll be an opportunity to feed into this work. Purcell are holding 2 consultation sessions the week starting the 22nd of March. So I'll send out an email and circulate the details to see if anybody would like to get involved with those. Thank you.
When you say conservation area on the Reading Road, are we talking about the Reading Road towards Harpston on the right hand side?
Towards Harpston, and it's on the left hand side.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're coming into Henley, it's on the right hand side.
Yeah, because it probably wouldn't hurt to look at the other side of the road as well.
Yeah, and that's part of their process of that's what they were looking at in terms of their walk around, and then the next stages is to get residents and the Henley Society and other groups involved with the review.
Okay, thank you. Anybody wish to speak on that? No, I don't see anybody. And the final one, little 12, climate emergency 2030. Patrick, have you got anything to add on there?
No, it's same as with transport. It's with ACOM until we get back their comments, so there's not much we can do.
Okay. Let's move then into item 7, which is the local green space designation mythology, and that's on pages 21 to 39 of your agenda. Jodie, do you want to speak to that briefly first, and then I'll open it up?
Yeah, so the National Planning Policy Framework introduces a local green space designation, which allows for local communities to identify green spaces of particular significance. Patrick, Kester, Sarah and I compiled a list of sites in Henley and Harpston to be assessed, and you can find that in the report. The next stage is to apply this methodology and assess those sites to see if they would be worthy of designation. There's a number of criteria that the NPPF says that they have to meet, including being in close proximity to the community, being of special, demonstrably special to the local community, and not an extensive tract of land. So that will rule out some of them, but again, I'll bring that forward once I've completed the assessment.
Hugh, as you're still there listening, one of the sites that is down actually is Lucy's Farm, so that will be looked at as an area of green space. So we can just note that. anybody wish to speak to the areas? There's 34 items been put down there. Rebecca Chandler-Wild.
There are two questions I was going to ask. First is, how many of these can we have? Is there a limit?
There's not a limit, but there is quite a tough criteria to meet in terms of designating them. So it might be that some of them come out, but the way that we've identified them in the first place is that they're important in terms of providing for habitats or biodiversity or recreation, and we've already done that too, and Patrick's brought together that list. I think, have you got anything more to add, Patrick?
No, just to say, yes, the reasons for classification, wanting to classify these as green spaces, is various. I mean, there's obvious ones like the cricket green at Harpston. It's a green space and it's used as a sports ground. But there are more subtle ones like Parkside, where we feel that is of aesthetic value as you approach the town from Badgemore, and it's also got habitat that isn't truly protected by the tree preservation orders that are already on the site. So quite a few of these sites have some form of protection already. And what we want to do is just to say that during the life of this plan, and that's something that's really important to understand, that this green space protection does not survive this plan. So when this plan is revised, they've got to be revised. And if you want to extend the protection, they would have to be done at that time.
Can I also ask, is Drawback Hill on here? I don't know if it's covered by some, because that would seem like an obvious place to it, because it's obviously important for local recreation.
It shouldn't be. It's a footpath. It's not really meant to be a toboggan run.
I mean, people do use it all the time, though, don't they? They go and sit there on a sunny evening, and not all of these have access from the public, do they?
No. I mean, that's why there are different reasons for protecting them. Some of them are private land, some of them are inaccessible, but they still have some value, either as for biodiversity, for habitat, or for aesthetic reasons, as I said, where we like to look at, Gillett's Wood, the little bit of wood running along Peppard Lane. That I think is a case in point where we would not want to see that cut down and developed. We want to see that preserved.
Patrick, I know the area quite well. Where is number one?
Where's number one?
I want to know that too.
What's the name of it? Sorry, I haven't got
Chiltern Dip Slope and
Dip
Plateau.
Slope. Where's that?
That's a bit extensive. Chiltern Dip Slope actually covers the whole area. We probably ought to take that out. Sorry about that. That came off the report from the South Oxfordshire Commission. They did a land survey, and I think, Jodie, we probably ought to take that out. That basically covers the whole of Hearns, Highlands Farm. It's the gradual slope of the Chilterns from Nettlebed down towards the River Thames, and it actually defines the landscape with these very soft valleys, which is due to the underlying chalk. So that's the Chiltern Dip Slope. Sorry about that.
Yeah, Kester, I know you're listening. If there's any other areas that you know around Harpston, could you just pass those on to Jodie?
We have already spoken to them, but if there are any more, then he's welcome to put them over.
I say we had a very productive meeting with Kester and with Sarah on that, and we discussed at some length, because again, their significant space is actually protected as a triple SI, which is and the Woodland Trust own it anyway, which is the Harpston Woods. And
okay, thank you for that. There is a recommendation actually on page 39. The local green space methodology is used to determine the LGS designations. If we could agree with that, if all in favour of that. Yeah, I think we are. Okay, thank you. Item Unless anybody else wants to speak on any of those sites? No, okay. Item 8, budget expenditure for neighbourhood plan review. And I'll pass on to Kath for that one.
Thanks, Ken. This report was just really to enable everyone to know where we were going. We've got monies that were contributed by Harpston Parish Council towards marketing and communication costs, and Henley Town Council has also allocated some SIL monies for that use. So it was really just to let the committee know where we've spent money from that budget so far, listed in section 3.1, and to have a sort of guess at where we might spend some more of the monies in section 3.2. And some of that's up for discussion, but that was just the things that I could think of off the top of my head for the time being. So this was just for information for the committee to note, unless there are any questions.
I think on the item 3.2, we were considering holding the presentation and exhibitions outside in a marquee, but we'll go on to that in a minute on to item 10. So I don't think we'll be using that money, £2,500 for that, but it's in the budget anyway, just in case. On page 43, item 5.1, there's a recommendation is that we just note that report. If we all agree with that.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Item 9, this is the one that people probably wouldn't want to get involved in because it's so confusing. So I'll pass this one over to Jodie. This is government consultation, the changes to the National Planning Policy Framework and National Model Design Codes. Jodie, I'll leave you with this one.
Thank you. So this consultation seeks views on the draft revisions to the NPPF. It's implementing policy changes in response to the Building Better, Building Beautiful Commission recommendations. It looks positive in terms of they've made changes to strengthen environmental policies, including those arising from the review of the flood risk with DEFRA. They've also made a few minor changes, including clarification of policy and updating out-of-date material. It does provide some clarification on the use of Article 4 directions though, and it looks to be quite restrictive in terms of how you can implement them moving forward. It does say that these should be applied to the smallest geographical area possible. So that's quite restrictive. This consultation is also seeking views on the draft National Model Design Code. This would provide detailed guidance on the production of codes and guides and policies, which looks positively to promote successful design. They're not proposing a full review of the NPPF at this stage, so this is just seeking some modifications to that. A full scale review will be dependent on the implementation of any government proposals in terms of the wider reform, so we might have that coming up. It depends on how that goes. So I think that just covers the main things.
The point that Jodie did make, which I'm uncomfortable with, is the restricting the Article 4. A few of you may remember back about 4 or 5 months, I know Michelle does, down on the Newtown Industrial Estate, where they SODC granted planning permission to turn some factory units into blocks of flats. If we'd have had an Article 4 on there, it probably wouldn't have happened. So to restrict an Article 4, I would be totally against that. And I think this may well go to the planning committee, Michelle, and I think we can debate the issue there. I don't know if anybody else wants to make any comments. Patrick.
Could Jodie send round the link to the consultation? Because I think if there's something like the Article 4, I think it would be good if we could each submit, even if we just submit on that particular topic. That would be very good.
Yeah, and you're welcome to then feedback anything you want to comment, and I can put that together as well as your separate comments. I'll circulate the link. Thanks.
Ian Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, Michelle was right in what she said about Anderson House. We refused it at the planning committee, but SODC overturned it and given permission. Now I'd like to know the reason why, and they're telling us we got to have industrial land to build on. So why take away industrial buildings? It can be used for industrial use.
Well, that was our argument, Ian, and I'm not going to go into politics, or I could do, but I'm not going to go into politics to say who voted for and who didn't. But it was, it just seemed very political who supported the application. It gave no reason at all to me that it should have been given planning permission. The officers, there are also officers there, and the officers that you can get permitted development rights on there. That wasn't a problem. Well, it was a problem, but I don't agree with that either. But they could have got planning permission for the officers with a permitted development. With the factory units, that's a different matter altogether. And you know, far from me to criticise the officer, which I did on the day, there were items on there which were totally incorrect. The officer's report. I did write to Adrian Duffield in September a long letter, and I still haven't had a reply to that. But I think the officer's report that went to committee was far from correct. But it's happened now, and it's happened. But as I say, if we'd have had an Article 4 on that, that would have saved giving planning permission, or that would be my view. But anyway, it's there now, and unfortunately we have to accept that. Jackie Walker.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to point Councillor Clark or anyone else in the direction of SODC website, which will still have the video of that meeting if anybody wants to watch.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, moving on. Sorry, Patrick.
Yeah, could you just clarify? I believe that SODC have to raise an Article 4. Yeah, they have to do it and agree to it. So, in fact, if they are of a mind to develop a site in Henley, we're stuck.
I went over to SODC with Kath, which must be 18 months ago, 2 years ago, Kath. And we brought a number of sites to their attention. And would you like to comment, Kath, or leave it to me, because I might say the wrong things? But other than they were too busy at that moment in time, they had insufficient officers at that time to deal with it, which they did in the future, but they still didn't put an Article 4 on the land. Kath, do you want to make a comment on that?
I think that covers it, actually, Ken. I think we were told that they would come to it in due course, but they just never have. We could chase that again.
Did that answer anybody's question?
Sort of. I guess there's an urgency now to do it before the new MPPF comes in.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. I think it is for parish and town councillors. It's very frustrating when you know what you want is correct, but officers for some reason don't have sufficient time to do it. And then because they don't have sufficient time to do it, you finish up with what you don't want. And then obviously we take the abuse or whatever. for it not happening. So it is frustrating, and it was on this occasion because, you know, 2 years ago was plenty of time to have put an article for on the whole area down on the Newtown Industrial Estate. And Ian Clark is totally right on this occasion, where we've been asked to look for industrial land. And this was one of my comments to Adrian Duffield. We were asked to look for industrial land in the review, and the district council are giving planning permission to turn, you know, offices, factory units into blocks of flats on industrial land. Now, if that makes sense to anybody sitting at this meeting today, they're a better person than me, because to me it just makes no sense whatsoever. A nice little story for the Henley Standard and the Henley Herald next week anyway. Ian?
Can I make one comment, Mr. Chairman?
Just be careful what you say, because you were front page last week.
Yeah, I know I am. I'll be there next week as well. Yeah, Adrian Duffield, the planning officer, did notify the council that they can build industrial units up north of Highlands Park towards Rotherfield Grays. Now, if he's commenting on that, why doesn't he stop the industrial one being stopped down Newtown Industrial Estate?
I'll send you his email address, Ian.
Thank you.
Right, let's move on to the public exhibition that we're going to call for the 13 plots of land developers. We have 2 or 3 major problems on this. The first one, that the dates we gave on the 9th and 10th of April, because we have the county council elections the first week in May, it becomes in Purda. So those 2 dates are within Purda. And as example for any members of the public listening, you know, I could stand on the main gate there and advertise the Henley residents group. We're not going to do this, we're not going to do that. Ian Clark could stand there as a Conservative candidate or whatever, you know, trying to get some bonus points as well. So we've now been in touch with SODC, and they've told us that we can't hold it on the 9th and 10th of April because of Purda. But even going on from there, I don't think we could have held it anyway, looking back now, because the majority of people you can have in a room at one time is 30. So if we had 13 presentations and they brought 1 or 2 people along, we've got town councillors there, we've got planning officers there. We're probably going to be up to 30 before we even get the members of the public in the room. So we then move on to the dates from Boris, which is the 27th of May. We still don't believe that we can get sufficient people in the room also, and these dates may be movable as well. So we've discussed this, I've discussed this with Kath and Jody. And so we then move on to the next date, which is the 21st of June, when everything is meant to be coming back to normal, from what Boris tells us. The nearest 2 dates we can get to there are the 2nd and the 3rd of July. So that's the dates that I'm going to be proposing. I spoke to Jody and Kath about this earlier. The situation is we have to get the neighbourhood plan or the review so far forward within a year of the adoption of the local plan. Both Jody and Kath are telling me we can get to a certain stage where we, remind me the correct wording, Jody? We can get to a stage where, Jody?
Get to this in terms of submission.
Yeah, submission, that's right, that's the one. Yeah. So as long as we can get to a stage of submission with the review by December, the date of the 2nd and 3rd of July works out well. It still works out that we can get there within a year. On the officer side, we've got stacks of work to do on policy, topic papers, you know, work with ACOM, all this kind of work. In my view, that gives us, or gives the Jody mainly, and a wee bit with Kath, time to put all these topic papers and policies in place before we get to the to the presentation or the public exhibitions. My view is once that takes place, it's not going to take us probably 2 or 3 weeks to go through all the public's information that they put forward, and we should be able to make judgment on the sites then to put forward to the review, which will then come back to this committee. So I would imagine we can do this by the end of July to put the sites forward. Having said all that, I'm going to propose then that we have the public exhibition and the presentation on the weekending of the 2nd and 3rd of July. Now, if anybody doesn't agree with that, fine, and then we can debate the issue. But I say, as far as I'm concerned, everything will fall into place. It gives the officers more time to put the topic papers and the policies together, and we can still get to the submission by December of this year. I hope that all made sense. David Whitehead.
I wonder if you could just clarify the significance of December, because if the neighbourhood plan has to be in a certain time from the local plan being adopted, the local plan is under a legal challenge at the moment. So, you know, can it be said to be adopted in December?
Well, no, it won't be adopted. The local plan has been adopted. And that's a fact. So, you know, that's the date we're looking for, a year from December.
Last December it was adopted.
That's right, yeah. I hear the complaint has been put forward. I'm not sure how that works, David. I would be very, very surprised if a complaint is upheld. I really would do. But then again, I'm not a judge on that. But I would be surprised. From what we're told, everything was done correctly with the local plan. So I'd be surprised if anything changes. So that's the date we have to look at. If we go outside, and Jody or Kath may correct me on this one, in theory, if we go outside the year, builders could come forward with plots of land and put plan applications in, because the review hasn't come to a stage. But from what Jody's saying, providing we come to a submission stage, and could you just talk us through exactly what that is, Jody? So as long as we come forward to that stage, it's acceptable with SODC, and we've discussed this with them today.
Yeah. So in the local plan, it says that the neighbourhood plan has to be progressed with allocating sites to meet the requirements set out in that plan within 12 months of the adoption of this local plan. The plan has to have reached submission stage. So that's planned for December, if you're taking into account the exhibitions in July.
Just remind me on that. Does the referendum take place after that?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's before that. It's submission for examination.
That's right.
Yeah.
So as long as that goes to SODC by December, we may even get it quicker. We might be able to get it through November. But working on the dates that put forward, we're convinced that we can work to that at the latest December.
Yeah.
Anybody else wish to speak on that? So can we accept those? Sorry, David Whitehead.
Well, just one other question again.
Yeah, fine.
13 sites. Are you sure you're correct in saying that Lucy's Farm is not included in the 13? Because I've got a list here, and the 13 I've got does include Lucy's Farm.
Jody.
I'll have to double check that. Is that been through the committee? Is that a committee paper that you...
I don't know. I've just got a list here in my own handwriting of 13 sites, and Lucy's Farm is the last one on the list, actually, but it does contribute to the 13. So, yeah, it was just a question of clarification.
Just check.
Yeah, bear with me 1 second.
They did make a presentation to us,
Yeah, they did.
but whether they actually asked for it to be adopted or to be put on the list, I don't know.
They did present to us, but
We'll come back to you on that, David.
Okay.
I know it's relevant and irrelevant. At the moment, we're looking for the dates, but we'll come back to you. I didn't think it was on there.
It's a red in the ACON report.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, we'll come back with you on that one, David.
Yeah, it's not on there. It's not on the list of sites that we wanted to take forward for further consideration.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So, is anybody not happy with the weekend of the 2nd and 3rd of July? That's the question. Okay. So, all in favour of that?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you very much for that.
That's providing everybody's not going on holiday.
Schools are still in. We're all parents, I'm sure.
Oh.
Item 11, next steps. Jodie.
So I'll circulate the details of the sessions for the conservation area review with Purcell. I will also circulate the consultation details for the National Planning Policy Framework government consultation. With regards to next steps, I'll bring together the survey results and that will impact upon the topic papers, and I'll bring those results back to the next committee.
Anybody else wish to make any comment on that? Would wish anything else to come back? I see nothing. Okay, the final item, next meeting. We've put Monday the 19th of April, which should be a fairly quick meeting. Monday the 19th of April.
Same time.
3 o'clock?
Yeah, 3 o'clock. That's right. Okay. As there's no AOB on the agenda, thankfully. Thank you all for your attendance, and yeah, if you've got any bits and pieces, obviously just get in touch with Jodie or Kath. Okay. Thank you all. The meeting is now closed.